The first episode in the series of community outreach takes us to the historic and majestic town of Soufriere, home to the world-famous pitons, sulfur springs, and the Diamond Falls. Today we'll be talking to some of the movers and the shakers in the community and highlighting some of the projects and initiatives taking place in various parts of the constituency. The Soufriere Foundation is a non-profit company located in Soufriere. Its mandate is to undertake social, cultural, human resource, tourism and infrastructure developments in the Soufriere area. The organization, which was established in 1993, generates revenues from its operational sites, the Sulphur Springs Park, Gopiton Nature Trail, Comfort Center, Soufriere Jetties, and 88.5 Soufriere FM.
The SRDF is a non-profit and non-government organization. Our mandate is quite simple. It's fostering social, economic, and cultural development in the community in a manner that's responsive to the needs of the people, while at the same time preserving those assets, whether they be natural, historical, cultural, biological, those assets upon which that development is based on. And quite simply, we do so by utilizing or managing the patrimony of Soufriere. The pitons, we have the Gros Piton Nature Trail, which basically the entrance is at a community called Fongelib, which many people have heard of recently. And right there we employ over 60 persons who work full-time on the mountain as tour guides and in various other capacities. And through that they're able to derive incomes and they're creating sustainable livelihoods. That has been ongoing for more than 15 years. Then you look at places like the Sulphur Springs, the volcano in Soufriere. Again, we're able to preserve the volcano in its form, but yet derive over $3 million in the collection of fees for visitors and tourists who come to either visit the springs for a tour or to bathe in the mineral waters and have a mud bath. We also manage the port of Soufriere. Presently there are 4 jetties, and passengers who embark or disembark on those jetties pay a fee. With these fees, of course, we maintain the jetties, pay out the staff, and are able to create, I think, about 15 to 20 other jobs down there. Now, supporting all of these activities is our administrative and management functions, and there too people are employed. So basically, those are our 3 main income generators, and our mandate is to seek similar type opportunities. For example, Tech-Paul Nature Trail at Chateau Bel Air was the brainchild of the foundation, and initially a child of the foundation, but when it grew to a certain stage, the foundation was forced to wean, just like young children leave home when they become young adults. Then the Tech-Paul left home, and the people of Chateau Bel Air are now able to manage their own tourism product. I believe that's what our mandate is. Our mandate is to go out, to communicate with the people, to educate them, to see what their needs are, to let them know what value we have sitting right here in Soufriere and its surroundings, and then to utilize those assets and to derive economic and social benefit. And we're on the way to becoming the Mecca. Look at what we've got. I mean, we're barely touching the tip of the iceberg, far less what's beneath the surface. Lush rainforests, rivers, springs, black and clear mineral waters, the iconic pitons, the highest mountain in Saint Lucia, fertile soil, deepest harbor in the island, beautiful people, resourceful. What more? We're just not leveraging what we have. Most times we tend to look outside and thinking that what's outside is better than what is local. Until the people of Soufriere and Soufriere organizations such as the Soufriere Foundation focus on what we have, we will miss the actual gold. So we're definitely a very unique place, and we're proud to be part of Saint Lucia, and we're proud to be leading this new thrust towards sustainable tourism development and community tourism development, because that's the only place in the island so far, unfortunately, that communities are managing its own tourism. So community development for us is empowerment of communities, education, and economic development. So we're focused on skills development and the skills that we need in our community. We're a tourism town, we're an agricultural constituency, your district, these are the places that we should focus our development on. We should focus on educating our people so that they can just move straight into the jobs being offered in the tourism industry.
This particular beach was always another point to climb the Gros Piton. Guides or the private guides would have used this area to go up. However, it was unsanctioned. It was not sanctioned. So it means that if something happened, there were no liability insurances. And so it wasn't really safe. This had been happening for a couple of years, and it was an opportunity that the foundation could have grasped, but for some reason did not. So what we have now is an opportunity that's been grasped and has been built upon by the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation. The actual conceptual idea came to fruition in 2016, December 2016, where this place was opened, formalized, the administration office, guides were about 17 people were employed, and it began a new realm of a product, a tourist product that was begging to be, jumped onto. The beach in itself is a very unique beach. Anse-Boin Beach is unique in terms of the history of this place. Actually, the name Anse-Boin means Bay of the Drunkard. This is actually a particular port through which Europeans would have exported molasses. And there are a lot of, artifacts around. You could actually see the aqueducts here, basically. So this was really a hub for export back in that time. And so it has a rich, deep, rich history. So that's one aspect of it in terms of the product, in what it presents. Then you have the whole coming into the beach, which is something that it's in itself, when you look at the view of the pitons, and it's really something that you cannot exchange. It is something you'll always be indelibly burnt within you, that experience of coming to the beach. And then you have the Gros Piton, the world-renowned climb. I mean, this is something that as a Saint Lucian you want to do, and visitors die to do this. They really want to come and do this. So the foundation, again, took it up, conceptualized the idea, and now we're seeing the fruit being born because of it. I think there's much need for expansion in terms of what can be done. I mean, it's a wonderful beach. There's also an opportunity for snorkeling. There's a blue hole here, which if you know some of the aquatic things in terms of what it presents, it is something that's a wonder for many people. Just that blue hole on the beach area, there's something it's like a mystery. So there's so many facets of this product in which the foundation can build upon, and is gradually getting to. Obviously, if any new product, they are the embryonic stages in terms of its development. But from December to now, we have been seeing, persons coming in. There have been guests coming in. So we are in the stages. Obviously, there is a marketing thrust that needs to probably be taken to a next level. But I think in terms of what this Anse-Boin Beach Gros Piton Trail represents, it's something that is very unique, and specifically can be actually expanded to where we really want to take it as a Soufriere Foundation.
We start the tour on the other side of the Anse-Boin River, which the boat would get the tourists would get off the boat on the other side of the river. We would cross the river, and then we would take the tourists here, question them based on whether or not they had a proper breakfast, what snacks that they have, do they have the right amount of water, and then from there we would take it. If they don't have anything, we would get them whatever they necessarily need, and then from there we would come to the office where they sign a waiver, and they would do whatever transaction that they have to do with the cachet, and the tour guide would take them up on the trail. And then also when you're hiking, we always advise our people that the earlier is the better. So for example, my number, they would have my phone number out there, my contact number out there, and I would have them, the tour operator, to call me anytime that the client wants to climb. Even if it's 5 o'clock in the morning, even if it's in the night, we will arrange for them so that a guide can take them there anytime that they wish. On the trail, there's medicine, different trees, plants that you could point out, which the elderly people used before as a medicine. There's the different rocks, animals, the different birds on the trail, So also there's caves. There's the cave when you get to a certain point they call Wash Nenen, which means your godmother. Now this cave, they have a history about the brigands, So then when we get to that rock, we give the tourist or the client the history about the rock. Well, the history about the Fonjalib cave is which called Wash Nenen. Functionally, when you get to the community, opposite the community, there's a cocoa estate, which is the largest cocoa estate in the Eastern Caribbean. Before the cocoa estate, it was a sugarcane plantation where they had the slaves working on the plantation. So the history about the rock was that anytime the slaves would run away from the plantation, they would run to that rock because that's the only place they could hide because of the cave. So they would hide in there. The rock would accommodate to 12 to 13 persons in there in camp condition. And when you get to the rock, you could see the darkness of the rock where they used to light the fire and the smoke. So that's where the slaves used to run and hide. And then later in the night, they would go all the way to the top of the piton.
The Soufriere Regional Development Foundation recognizes the importance of Soufriere in itself. We know the extent to which that Saint Lucia has now become dependent on the tourism sector. And of course, many are well aware of the reality that Soufriere is, of course, the leader in terms of tourism and places of interest and sites. So it is for this fundamental reason that we have done all within our powers to strategically organize to make certain that the boating sector is to the point where it is all embracing, all encompassing, and all well receptive of the sync plans of Saint Lucia, the tourism sector, and the fact that this place being a world-renowned site, it is absolutely important that we find ourselves able to prepare the boating sector to receive all that is necessary in order to make this site, this country, this place, this Mecca, as it has been dubbed, one that is in sync with a world-renowned site, a town, a touristic town that, of course, really and truly helped sell Saint Lucia in a manner that is even greater. Why? Because as we speak, we continue to see the importance of tourism. We continue to see the need for our economic development to be in a more acute state. So it is for this fundamental reason that we have gone to the extent of ensuring that plans for the boating sector are on a level that is going to help us to be a lot more competitive moving forward. Some of the fundamental things that have been put in place has to do with organized training through the SMMA. We are very fortunate to have a marine management unit along with the Marine Police. We have organized training for boat captains and of course for crew members. So anyone who's interested in, of course, developing or acquiring those formal licenses, the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation has done organized training so that those persons will not just freestyle and freelance and operate without the necessary training and the necessary recognition, but they will be in a situation where they could approach our visitors in an organized way so as to better preserve and protect the tourism sector. So it is for that fundamental reason the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation has again planned strategically to make sure that the waterfront is developed first of all with the basics, because cleanliness is something that a lot of us sometimes take for granted. But you and I know, should you visit any place of interest, one of the first things you look out for, or one of the first things that is going to jump to your attention is how presentable that place is. And so for that reason, we have additional groundsmen that we have engaged to not just deal with the waterfront in itself, but to also make certain that the docks in itself, in and of themselves, are well kept. So of course there's no debris, there's no sand that might actually contribute to an accident. And outside of that, what you find is the general beautification of the waterfront area. So when it comes to the waterfront and its place, role, and general contribution to the development of the tourism industry and what we sell as a destination, it is critical. And it is for that very reason that the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation continues to engage persons, especially a third eye from the outside, to, of course, contribute and provide us with consultative information that could be used in helping to develop the waterfront in general. We are actively pursuing all the necessary procedures in order to formalize the management of organized trails, organized tours on PDP Town. The same obtains for Abaso Trail as well as farm tours. The Soufriere Regional Development Foundation is, of course, moving quickly and is collaborating with the communities and residents of those communities in order to make sure that whatever we decide to do, it is all embracing, all appreciative, and those persons are in fact a part and they lend significant contribution to those initiatives.
Ayolele, 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 mama.
We need to recognize how important this site is. It's a premier tourist site. And obviously the key to this is sustaining its face on the international market. You recognize that with all organizations, one of the most important components and aspects of it is your security personnel, your security profile. And so with this organization, obviously specifically running the Sulphur Springs Park, the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation, we first recognize the need for security, increased security, but also trained security. Because we recognize in terms of preserving this product, you need to have that touch point needs to be one where you have trained personnel, security personnel. We're not only able to operate within the normal confines of what their job offers, we basically have that customer feeling, that warmth, that customer-friendly disposition that enables your guests to live with another wow factor, to say. So for us, training and maintaining the security profile is key and is paramount. Not only that, we've also invested and are also investing in cameras, CCTV cameras. We recognize there's a need for that, and lighting. So it's really a full circle package in terms of what we're doing here at the Sulphur Springs Park, because we want to make sure that all the components work well, because we recognize, apart from being a premier site, is the fact that there's a reputation that we need to uphold. And so we make sure that all the other administrative aspects of the organization in terms of what happens here at the site is seamless, and so that the visitors feel welcome to come back again, and it continues to be and showcase itself as the premier site that it is.
Right now we are at the Sulphur Springs Park, and recently they had some new renovations going on right here. And over to my right you can see there is the new area which is called the venting bath, and there was some excavation taking place there, and they had also back then, way back in the 1700s, they built these baths there, and it's actually done in stone, because back then the French used to use the stones, you know, and the British used to use more of the wall structure, the brick, sorry, you know. And if you look at it right now, they got 4 of them, but back then we only used to see 1 of them. And the temperature of the water that's coming out of this pool, it is 115 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 45 degrees Celsius. Okay, and it was actually reconstructed by a local businessman called Charles Gabriel. Okay, and this is basically what, since after they excavated it, this is what's left.
Obviously, the water falling behind me is pretty warm. Let's put it this way: it is part of a venting bath system, which was done in the 1900s, and the water is pretty warm. The point is that this was recently excavated, and there's a plan to build on it. And again, as an addition to what we already offer here, there are plans for additional pools and other products that can be more appealing to the guests, because we recognize you have to be on the cutting edge. So this is part of what we began, the project that we began. It will be a concept that is probably a kind of exclusive concept in terms of selling to the guests, but we think it's another winner in terms of what the Sulphur Spring brings to in its profile, in terms of what it offers to the guests and the visitors alike.
The most popular features of the Sulphur Springs Park is the Blackwater pool, I would say. because you see the Blackwater Pool itself, just a few years ago we had the episode The Bachelor, and it was Drake and Vienna. They came here to Saint Lucia, and they came to the pool here, the Clearwater Pool. They named it the Love Pool, and they feature part of it here. So they went to the Blackwater Pool, and then they had this mud bath, and they had them prints and I love you and whatnot. So after viewing this throughout the entire world, I think, then you find we get a lot of guests coming in, and always like they want to do the Blackwater Pool. Especially we have big groups from Sandals coming in here, and they do the same thing. They put fingerprints, and they, you know, do have lots of fun in the bath. Yeah.
The fact is, we want to make sure that in as much as we make a demand on the tour guides, that they are fully equipped to deliver. And so what we have is that we have quarterly training sessions that we obviously have had with them, and want to make sure that continues. And obviously we're always looking at the profile of the place in terms of, you know, how able they are and competencies. So it's a continual machinery, because we recognize at the end of the day, when you have trained and competent staff, they continue to uphold your product to the place that you want it to be.
The SRDF impacts the youth in a positive way. As stated in our mission and vision, we're here for the development of the town of Soufriere. And as with every other country, youth is a critical part of the development of a country. So the SRDF focuses a lot on youth development, not just handing out finances to the youth of Soufriere, but also in the capacity development, the human development of Soufriere. And we try to focus on the essentials. As we know, with youth, the demands of youth, it's huge in any country, and it's difficult for any government or any institution to finance the aspirations of youth. So we're focusing on the essentials that could better equip the youth for their progress in the future and their overall development. The most critical part is the development from home to school to the community. Because if we don't build strong family institutions and strong school institutions, then we have a recurrent situation in our community which revolves around crime and, you know, just name it. It has multiplier effects. So we try to focus on youth from the early stages all the way through adolescence into adulthood, and hopefully we can create a better society. And we try to advise the youth through our programs, whether it's entrepreneurship or life skills, to take heed and gather as much information as possible that could help them to excel in the future.
So if you come into Soufriere, you notice that very few tourists navigate in Soufriere or actually remain in Soufriere. There is the downtown hotel, there's the home hotel, there are a number of small guest houses in Soufriere, but very rarely do you see tourists walk through Soufriere. The hotels on the ridges do not necessarily encourage the people to come to Soufriere because there's nothing there really to see. So the square will be the beginning of this metamorphosis of Soufriere. You know, this evolution from Soufriere as being the place where people just pass through to go to the sites, where we start to encourage people to come in and stay. And that will augment and supplement what we're already doing with the waterfront. So now we'll have two areas that you can hang out on the Soufriere waterfront and come into the center of town, sit down on the square, enjoy the natural surroundings of the square, and then to patronize the businesses that are around the square, the small bars, the restaurants, the craft shops, etc., etc. Even visit the church, the Catholic Church. There is about $1 million allocated that's still available, and that $1 million we hope to complete the square. When completed, hopefully before the end of the year, we would have a square that allows the community, which is welcoming to the community and visitors, which is in some way reflecting of our heritage and doesn't stand out among what other architecture exists in its immediate surroundings. And so it's a place where people will gather, where people will relax, and sometimes where we come together and celebrate our history.